You know how in real life we live on a planet called Earth. We have our very own solar system and sun and other planets that we can't even travel to. Earth and everything we know resides in the Milky Way galaxy. But what if I told you there is a galaxy far, far away during the dark time in a civilization with ridiculously insane technology? There was this government known as the Empire that ruled over an entire galaxy worth of planets, each planet being treated as neighborhoods or just another cities within the country, basically, because there's light speed ships and vehicles that can travel from planet to planet like it's no big deal. Even weaker vehicles that reside on the planet's surface. Yeah, vehicles like this. This massive government, you might know who Darth Vader is, but did you know there was somebody that was above him? The Emperor himself, Darth Sidious. He's the guy Darth Vader is bowing down to him. When you go on StarWars.com to look up Mother Talzin, there's implication here that Sidious was the mightiest being in the galaxy, because Talzin hoped to defeat Sidious and become the most powerful being in the galaxy, implying that defeating Sidious is the only thing holding her back, implying that Sidious had the title, apparently. There are these beings known as Force users. You can either be a light side or dark side user, or on rare occasions be in the middle. Darth Sidious, aka Emperor Palpatine, ended up embracing the darker side of the Force to give him unique abilities. You guys know the Force, right? Like StarWars.com basically explains it like a mysterious energy field created by life that binds the galaxy itself together. Harnessing the power of the Force gives the Jedi, the Sith, and others sensitive to this spiritual extraordinary abilities, levitation abilities, mind tricks, blah, blah, blah. I mean, he can absorb blaster bolts with the Force as well. One could say he can give himself like armor by using the Force as a shield. And when it comes to the hierarchy, he's at the very top. Every Force user is not created equal. For example, there's like a bunch of Inquisitor level beings, even though they can use the Force. They're strong in the Force, but nowhere near Sith Lord level. For example, Palpatine and Vader are above Inquisitors. The Sith, I mean, he's brilliant. I'm not going to lie. He's smart enough to know he can't take on all these Jedi, so he orchestrated a plan to take out a big chunk of the Jedi that existed with Order 66. Made all the Jedi build trust with the clones, because the clones in themselves were actually good people. They literally got mind control. This was actually a brilliant strategy for the Emperor to take over. But enough of that. How strong was Palpatine? He can do weird stuff like life force absorption, like how he was absorbing Rey and Kylo's energy. So you don't have to worry about him just force pushing you. He can drain you. Just like other Force users, he can jump real high and has enhanced physicals because the Force is amping up your physicals. There's plenty of evidence of stuff like this. He's mighty on his own without using a laser sword, but he uses the standard laser swords Jedi and Sith both use. He looks small and short and stuff, but when Maul is trying to overpower him, he can physically overpower him. Can physically lock saber locks with 2 Force users and block both their attacks, just like how he's skilled with a lightsaber. You guys should have knew this already. So it's natural he has a crazy amount of blast power with Force lightning. I mean, you know he has crazy fighting speed. He just straight up speed blitz all these Jedi. They're not weaklings either. One shot, get murked. Powerful Sith Lord level beings like Darth Maul that give multiple Jedi issues at the same time is actually considered his underling, and he's clearly above him. This gives you an idea of how strong Palpatine is. In fact, he's so far above Maul, he had Maul beg for mercy when it comes to raw power.
Have mercy, please, please.
There is no mercy.
There was this time IGN spoke with the supervising director of the Clone Wars to give more lore on Sidious and Maul and stuff and why he was so strong. During a Q&A, it was literally just pretty much confirmed that Maul is still not nearly as powerful as Sidious. That should be obvious. Narratively speaking, he's meant to be a beast, but the Force, look how he bullies his people that are under him, the other Sith Lords. Like Dooku just getting choked, even if he's not on the planet itself. These characters can use the Force from very long range, like how he's using the Force on these handcuffs from across the galaxy on Ezra Bridger. We all respect Vader, but look what he did to Vader. This is something you don't see often. Yeah, he is the Emperor, after all. He did this to Anakin, choking him in the air. When it comes to the food chain of Force users like Yoda, he can compete with beings this mighty. Even Windu, him and Yoda are the top 2 at least when it comes to the Jedi High Council. We've seen him force 2 Force users against the wall, one of them being a Sith Lord like Maul, to where they can't even move until he lets them move. When you think you're getting the advantage over him, it's all really a part of his plan. Like, you all come here, continue to fight with me while we're all falling together. We've actually seen him knock out Maul with a blast. I mean, we've seen Sidious handle Darth Maul, who's a Sith Lord level being, and Inquisitors are even lower than that. So get an idea of how strong he is with the Force. Look at the kind of stuff low-tier Inquisitor level beings can do when it comes to pulling ships. That's just a common thing for Force users, even if you're lower end. You can see little occasions like this. This is light work stuff, using the Force to unlock handcuffs. How many beings do you see literally disarm Vader? of his lightsaber. Is there something you need to tell us, Sidious? This guy definitely was keeping some secrets. Because when the heck did he learn a Sith magic? Did he learn something from the Night Sisters off screen? What's the limitations of this? Like, it's like some tendril he can use, which is wild. It appears he used some Force type of Sith magic stuff against Ahsoka here somehow. When'd you learn this kind of stuff? In novels like this, it shows that the Emperor's blast can topple trees, duh. Also, in this book, he collapsed the tunnel. If you don't have no Force shields or nothing, you're just completely helpless against it while he goes past you. Yeah, I actually kind of feel bad for him a little bit. You know how Star Wars has a lot of different creatures? These entities like this, Palpatine has interacted with a few times. You guessed it again, in this novel, blasted 3 of these creatures back, cracking their exoskeletons and leaving them broken, twitching, and dying. It should be no surprise against Yoda. He lifted up all this bullcrap and can sling it at him. Doesn't seem like to be nowhere near his limit. Just how he can just throw tons of stuff like that at him. It's pretty much confirmed he has similar raw power to Vader, of course. Vader has enough raw Force blast power to mess up an AT-AT with the Force, meaning he can collapse an AT-AT with the Force if he felt like it too. There's plenty of canon occasions of him and Vader clashing and him damaging Vader badly. He's got the kind of blast power with Force lightning to where he literally tortured Vader to give him a lesson or teach him a lesson in humility, I guess. In the Lords of the Sith novel, Vader was able to take hold of a freighter and drag it to the ground. Sidious had done something similar, the exact same thing, with such a little piece of his power to show, yeah, regardless of how you see it, they're relative. There's no telling what kind of freighter this was, but when you get an idea of freighters in the Star Wars universe, these are ideas of freighters in the Star Wars lore that he can blast and destroy, obviously, right? Beings that have similar genetics to him, aka is a descendant of him, Rey can lift up hundreds of tons worth of rock, and she's related to Palpatine. And she's able to keep transport ships from going. Same with Kylo Ren, both tug of warring it with this ship. I look at it like this. If Rey can lift up hundreds of tons worth of boulders like this, so can Palpatine. I mean, they're literally related in the lore, narratively speaking. Yeah, this is just a common Force user thing. You know, when Palpatine got resurrected and reappeared, look how easily he's able to handle a being that can do stuff like that. This is a good example of how he's able to ragdoll these beings, Kylo and Rey, who's able to do this to show that, yeah, he's the Emperor for a reason. One of his most impressive feats is matching blasts with Yoda himself, and Yoda was actually struggling to contain this blast from Palpatine. We know Yoda has pulled up on mountains before. His raw destructive capacity is so great when there's like an entire fleet of ships above him. His blast can affect all of that big area of effect. Like, yeah, that's crazy, guys. Yeah, these is not no small ships. He can just keep on producing that kind of energy. You telling me he can't level a mountain? Yeah, he can definitely level a few mountains with this kind of blast power. That's really a no-brainer at this point. And this is me being nice, saying this is a bare minimum. What I'm saying is, if he was to shoot his energy blast at this mountain, it would just rip the top of it off like this. You know, just for example, they've got some calculations on how much Mount Everest would possibly weigh, aka it weighing more than 350 trillion pounds. That would be like saying he can blast through something that weighs 175 billion tons. This would be considered a big assumption if he hasn't matched beings like Yoda who literally get in contact with mountains and pull up on mountains, you know what I'm saying, and affect big structures like this with the Force, you know what I'm saying? But I gotta admit, part of the reason why he was able to do all that is because his power was being amplified, because he was absorbing Rey and Kylo's power. But one could argue he could do this without this, but this just amped him up to even greater degrees, one could say. This is a clear example of whatever you can do, I can do better, because he's ragdolling Rey and Kylo Ren at the same time pathetically. Even if you don't want to count that feat of him blasting that fleet as his own because he was amplified, you want to say, well, you got to remember, Luke Skywalker and Vader are comparable to each other. Guess who's comparable to them? You see where this is going? Darth Sidious. We can just keep doing this over and over again when it comes to all the characters in the hierarchy he's up there with. He has to be similar in raw power. Let's not forget about the famous feat of Luke Skywalker in a fit of rage. He had the blast power to shake the entirety of a Star Destroyer ship with his raw power output when it comes to the Force. Bruh, if Star Destroyers existed, they would be as big as 50 plus buildings and stuff. Just even tilting these things with your raw power alone, something this massive, is impressive. If Palpatine can do something similar, that would mean he can move or shake something with the Force raw power output to shake something that weighs 1,000,000 tons. If Luke Skywalker can do something like this. When it comes to Force users, you know, talking to beings from across the galaxy with telepathic type stuff is just another day in life. Of course, that's something Palpatine can do, talking to Luke. Yeah, connected to the Force type stuff. You get it? You know, reading minds, communicating while reading minds, stuff like that. If you're in one of his buddies or apprentices' bodies, he will just blast you out of it and clean them out. But no matter how you look at it, you have to respect Palpatine. Do you think he's the mightiest Force user in the entire galaxy history or in Star Wars history? What do you think? He is definitely the iconic big bad of them all. But before I get going, give me more power. Oh, my bad. I'd like to give a quick thanks to everybody that has donated to the channel. Helps out a lot. Respect, Darth Sidious. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.